Where does she often study after school?
Where she often study math after school. She not often study music after school.
Where does he usually eat breakfast?
She usually eats breakfast at a cafe. She doesn't eat breakfast at a restaurant. They not usually eat breakfast at the restaurant.
Where does she go to work every day?
She usually go to work at the library every day. She doesn't. She then not go to uh countryside to work every day.
Where does he usually buy groceries?
I don't know.
Where does she often meet her friends?
She often meet her friend at the school. She does not often meet her friend at the mansion.
Where does he usually go on holidays?
She usually go to park on holiday. She doesn't. She does not usually go to stadium on holiday.
Where does she usually read books?
She usually read book at the library. She does not usually read book at the park.
Where does he usually play sports?
She usually plays sport at the stadium. She does. She does not usually play sport at the park.
Where does she often go shopping?
She often goes shopping at the market. She does not often go shopping at the mall.
Where does he usually cook at home?
She usually cook right at home. She does not usually cook meat at home.
Where does she usually walk her dog?
She usually walk her dog at her garden. She does not often usually what walk her dog at the park.
Where does he usually go on Sundays?
She usually go to the park on Sunday. She does not usually go to the restaurant on Sundays.
Where does she often eat lunch?
She often eats lunch at the at home. She does not often eat lunch at restaurant.
Where does he usually study for exams?
She usually study math for exam. She does not. He usually study for exam at the parks or at home. He dare not usually study for exam at the library.
Where does she often go for a walk?
She often go to the river. She often go to the river to. She often go to the river for a walk. She does not often go to the
Where does he
park
usually
to
spend his
for a
evenings?
walk. He usually spend his evening at the at the park. He does not usually spend his evenings at her garden. At his garden.
Where does she usually go for vacation?
Vacation, I don't know.
Where does he often meet his colleagues?
She often meet his college at the stadium. She does not often meet his college at the stadium.
Where does she usually go to buy clothes?
Usually go to the go to the mall to buy clothes. She does not go to the uh uh she does not
Where
go
does
to
he
the
often go
market to
for
buy
breakfast?
clothes. She often go to she he often go to the cafe for breakfast. He does not often go to the restaurant for
Where does she
breakfast.
usually go after school?
He usually go to the park after school. She does not usually go home after school. Yes,
Where does he
I'm about
usually
to
spend
leave
his
Tony
free
with
time?
Cynthia. She usually spend his free time. He usually spend his free time at the park. He does not spend his free time at the mall.
Where does she often go to meet friends?
She often go to rest, go to cafe to meet friends. She does not often meet friends at the school.
Where does he usually eat dinner?
She eat dinner other other home. Usually eat dinner as a home. She
Where does
does
she
not
usually go on Friday
usually
evenings?
she usually go she usually I don't know.
Where does he often go for a weekend trip?
She often go to to a mountain for weekend trips. She do not often go to here to for a weekend trip.
Where does she usually go to exercise?
She usually go to the stadium to for exercise. She does not usually go to the.
Where does he often meet his family?
She often meet his family at the park. She does not often meet his family at the stadium. Mẹ ăn cơm chưa mẹ?
Where does she usually go to relax?
She usually go to to the park to relax. She does not usually go to the, the garden for bath.
Where does he
Her
usually
garden
go to
for
buy
park.
fruits?
She usually buy food at the supermarket. She does not usually buy food at the market.
Where does she often eat snacks?
She often eats snack at the market. She does not often eat snack at her garden.
Where does he usually go on Saturday mornings?
She usually go to the market on Saturday morning. She does not sleep continue go to mm,
Where does she often go to watch movies?
she often goes to the go to the I don't know. Cái đây không chả biết về cái chỗ phát phim là gì.
Where does he usually study English?
She usually study English at the market, at the music room. She does not usually um, study English at in the at her home.
Where does she often go with her friends?
He she often go mm, to her garden for her, with her friend. She does not go to her
Where does he usually
her
spend his holidays?
she usually spend his holiday at the market. I don't know.
Where does she usually go to meet new people?
She usually go to her garden to meet new people. She does not often go to her garden to meet new people.
Where does he often go after work?
She often go to, to her garden after work. She do not go home after work.
Where does she usually buy books?
She usually buy book at the market. She does not usually buy book at the market.
Where does he usually go to watch sports?
She usually go to her garden to watch sport.
Where does she often go to meet new friends?
She often go to her garden to meet new friends. She does not often go to her to meet new friends.
Where does he usually go to practice music?
She usually go to her garden to practice music. She does not usually practice music her in her garden.
Where does she often go to eat dessert?
What is the name? Alright.
Where does he usually go when he wants to relax?
He usually goes to the park when he wants to relax. She does not usually go to the her garden to her spot to relax.
Where does she often go to take photos with friends?
She often goes to her garden to take photos with friends.
Where does he usually go on rainy days?
I don't know.
Where does she often go to read magazines?
I don't know.
Where
À,
does he usually go to buy fruits?
vâng ạ, vâng ạ. Không làm gì đâu ạ? Không làm cái nút này mà. Không làm nút này mà.
Where does she often go to watch movies with friends?
She often go to her home to watch movie with friends. She does not often go to the cafe to watch movie with her friends.
Where does he usually go for jogging in the evening?
She usually go to a park for jogging in the evening. He does not usually go to his garden for jogging in the evening.
Where does she often go to buy school supplies?
They often go to the market to buy school supplies. She does not usually go to the or she does not often go to the market because school market to buy school supplies.
Where does he usually go to spend time alone?
She usually go to her garden to spend time alone. She does not usually go to uh, her garden to spend go to her home to spend time alone.
Where does she often go on public holidays?
She often go to her to Madison on public holiday. That's not easily go to the garden for public holiday.
Where does he usually go with his family on weekends?
He usually go. I don't know.
Where does she often go to eat fast food?
She often go to Jollibee. She often go to the Jollibee to often go to KFC to eat fast food. She does not often go to the Jollibee
Where
to
does
eat
he
fast
usually
food.
go when he feels tired?
And he usually go to his pharmacy when he feels tired. He does not usually go to her garden when he feels tired. Ai cho đấy? Cho anh cái.
Where does she often go to buy souvenirs?
Hai người nữa. She usually go to her garden to to cứ để cho mấy cái con này lại mối nhỉ? To buy souvenir. She doesn't usually go to her
Where does he
garden
usually go on his
to buy
birthday?
souvenir. She usually go to her home to on his birthday. He does not usually go to the park on his birthday. Cho anh vài cái để anh dán. Anh dán.
Where does she often go to spend her evenings with friends?
She usually goes she usually go to cafe to spend her evening with friends. She does not often go to spend her evenings. She often go to her home to spend her evenings with friends. Tìm của Soi xong còn
Where
lại
does he
đưa cho anh.
usually go to watch plays or concerts?
Usually go to stadium to watch plays or concerts. He does not usually go to spa to watch play often.
Where does she often go to buy fresh vegetables?
She often go to the supermarket to buy fresh vegetables. She does not usually go to the garden to buy fresh vegetables. Không go to the market.
Where does he usually go to relax after a long day?
She often goes to a park to relax after a long day. She does not usually go to the garden for relax after a long day.
Where does she often go to meet classmates after school?
She often goes to her garden to go to a cafe to meet her classmates after school. She does not
Where does he
often
usually go
go
to
to.
enjoy nature?
She often go to the forest to enjoy nature. She does not usually go to the countryside to enjoy nature.
Where does she often go to have breakfast with friends?
She often goes to restaurant to have breakfast with friends. She does not often go to go to her garden, go to her home to have breakfast with friends.
Where
Lady,
does he usually go to buy shoes?
she usually go to the market to buy shoes. She does not usually go to her supermarket to buy shoes.
Where does she often go to spend free time on weekends?
She usually go to her garden to spend time with friends. She does not usually go to cafe to spend time with her friend. Tôi chưa sắm đâu.
Where does he usually go to learn a new hobby?
She usually go to her garden to learn new hobby. She does not go to the stadium to learn new hobby. Cho số đêm tắm biển đi. Ừ.
Where does she often go to enjoy music?
She often go to her, her the park to enjoy music. She does not go to her garden to enjoy music. Nên 80 thôi. Không bị mẹ biểu.
Where does he usually go on Monday mornings?
She usually go to her garden on Monday morning. She does not usually go to her garden on Monday morning. Lên tắm đi Xôi.
Where does she often go to drink tea in the afternoon?
She often goes to the restaurant to drink tea in the lunch in the afternoon. She does not often go to smoke the market to drink tea in the afternoon. Lên tắm kìa Xôi. Biết à?
Where does he usually go to
Lên
watch
tắm đi kìa
football
Xôi.
matches?
She often go to the stadium to watch football matches. She does not easily eat free time at the market.
Where does she
Lên
often
đi
go to have a
kìa.
picnic with friends?
She often go to her garden to have picnic. She does not go to spa. Usually go to the park to have picnic. Mẹ tắm chưa ạ? Mẹ?
Where does he usually go to meet his relatives?
She usually go to her garden to meet his relatives. She does not usually go to her her garden to meet his relatives.
Where does she often go to read novels?
She often go to her garden to meet dog. She does not usually go to uh, her her garden to meet his relative. Cafe to meet his relative. But
Where
relative
does he
là gì ạ?
usually go on Saturday afternoons?
She usually go to her garden on Saturday afternoon. She does not usually go to her garden to meet her friends.
Where does she often go to spend time outdoors?
She often go to her garden to spend time outdoors. She does not often go to forest to enjoy uh, outdoors.
Where does he usually go when it is sunny?
She usually go to her garden when it is sunny. She does not usually go to her 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 garden to I don't know.
Where does she often go to celebrate special occasions?
Celebrate special location. I don't know. Any, yeah. Any.
Where does he usually go to watch birds?
She usually go to jungle to watch birds. She does not go to the forest to watch. Welcome, go to the mountain to watch birds.
Where does she often go to have fun with family?
She usually go to her garden to have fun with family. She does not her go to her home to garden sport.
Where does he usually go to meet friends after classes?
No, I don't know.
Where does she often go to buy books online?
She often goes to the market to buy book online. And she does not go to the garden, go to the supermarket to buy books online.
Where does he usually go to have lunch with colleagues?
She often go to her garden too. I go to restaurant I don't know, to have lunch with colleagues.
Where does she
She
often
does
go to
not
see
go
the
to her.
sunrise?
She often go to her home to see the sunrise. She does not often go to her garden to see the sunrise.
Where does he usually go to spend time with pets?
She go to her garden to spend time with pets. She does not go to her home to spend time with pets.
Where does she often go to take part in competitions?
Mm, I don't know. With Pat, little tear.
Where does he usually go to buy daily necessities?
She usually go to her home to buy daily necessities. She does not know if she go to her garden to buy daily necessities.
Where does she often go to enjoy the evening breeze?
I don't know.
Where does he usually go on his anniversary?
I don't know.
Where does she often go to join cultural events?
She often goes to mass and to some cultural events. She does not go to her garden to some cultural events.
Where does he usually go when he needs inspiration?
I don't know. You think?
Where does she often go to buy souvenirs for friends?
I don't know.
Where does he usually go to watch live music? Where does she often go to spend time in nature?
I don't know.
Where does he usually go to practice yoga?
Where does she usually go to practice? She usually go to this. Usually go to uh swim to practice yoga. She does not usually go to garden to practice yoga.
Where does he usually go to practice yoga?
She usually go to her garden to practice yoga. She usually go to her garden to practice yoga.
Where does she often go with her friends during holidays?
She often go. I don't know.
Where does he usually go to take a rest in the afternoon?
She go to her garden to take a rest in the afternoon. She does not go to take a rest in the restaurant. Mát đợi chút xíu ạ. Rồi ạ.
Where does he usually go on weekends?
She usually go to her garden on weekend. She does not usually go to her. her I don't know.
Where does she often study after school?
She often study math and she often study at the restaurant at home at home after school. She doesn't study at her friend home after school.
Where does he usually eat breakfast?
She usually eat breakfast at the at her home. She doesn't eat breakfast at her garden.
Where does she go to work every day?
She often go to her home to work every day. She doesn't often go to her friend home to work after school.
Where does he usually buy groceries?
She usually buy grocery at the market. She doesn't buy grocery at her garden at home at the market.
Where does she often meet her friends?
She often meet her friends at her home. She does not often meet her friend after dinner. Her, at the at her at his her
Where does he
friend home.
usually go on holidays?
She usually go to her friend home on weekend. She does not usually go to uh, mm, school on weekend.
Where does she usually read books?
She usually read book at the library. She does not read book at her home.
Where does he usually play sports?
She usually plays sport at the stadium. She does not play sport at her home.
Where does she often go shopping?
She often goes shopping at her home. She does not often go shop at home at the supermarket. She does not often go shopping at the supermarket.
Where does he usually cook at home?
She usually cook at home. She doesn't cook meat at home. Does not often does not often cook meat at home.
Where does she usually walk her dog?
She usually walks her dog at her garden. She does not usually walk her dog at park.
Where does he usually go on Sundays?
She usually goes. She usually go to her home on Sunday. She does not usually going on her home on Sunday.
Where does she often eat lunch? Where does he usually study for exams?
She usually study for exam this at her home. She doesn't study for her exam at the park.
Where does she often go for a walk?
She often go to the park for a walk. She does not usually mm, go for a garden for a walk.
Where does he usually spend his evenings?
She usually spends the evening at the park. She does not usually spend the evening at her home.
Where does she usually go for vacation?
She usually go to her home for vacation.
Where does he often meet his colleagues?
I don't know.
Where does she usually go to buy clothes?
She usually go to her home to buy clothes. She does not usually go to her, her home, go to a supermarket for to buy clothes. To buy clothes. She does not usually go to her home to buy clothes.
Where does he often go for breakfast?
She often go to her garden for breakfast. She does not go to a restaurant for breakfast.
Where does she usually go after school?
She usually go to her garden after school. She does not go to her home after school.
Where does he usually spend his free time?
She usually spends his free time at her home. She does not usually spend his free time at her garden.
Where does she often go to meet friends?
She often go to her home to meet friends. She does not often go to her garden to meet friends.
Where does he usually eat dinner?
She usually eat dinner at her breakfast. She does not usually eat dinner at her the restaurant.
Where does she usually go on Friday evenings?
She usually go to her home on Friday evening. She does not usually go to her her her, go to her
Where does
garden.
he often go for a weekend trip?
She often go to cafe for weekend trips. She does not often go to her home for weekend trip.
Where does she usually go to exercise?
She usually go to her home for exercise. She did not usually go to the stadium for exercise.
Where does he often meet his family?
She often meet her family at her home. She doesn't usually meet her family at her.
Where does she usually go to relax?
She usually go to relax at the supermarket and go to relax.
Where does he usually go to buy fruits?
She usually go to her home to buy fruits. She does not usually go to her uh, garden
Where
for
does
it.
she often eat snacks?
She often eats snack at her garden. She does not often eat snack at the supermarket.
Where does he usually go on Saturday mornings?
She usually go to her home on Saturday morning. She does not usually go to her garden after I don't know.
Where does she often go to watch movies?
She often go to her home to watch movie. She does not usually go to her 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 garden to watch movie.
Where does he usually study English?
She usually study English at her home. She does not usually study English at at gọi á. Sao đang học cuốn gì? Mẹ cho đi chơi rồi.
Where does she often go with her friends?
Đừng nói chuyện luôn. I don't know. Thì lên một chép bài đi.
Where does he usually spend his holidays?
She usually spend his holiday in her home. She does not usually spend his breakfast. Mẹ không cho đâu.
Where does she usually go to meet new people?
She usually go to her home to meet new people. I don't know. And she doesn't meet her family often in her garden.
Where does he often go after work?
She often go to her home after work. She does not sleep and go to her her, her garden to meet his friends.
Where does she usually buy books?
She usually buy book at her market. He doesn't meet
Where does he usually go to watch sports?
She usually go to her home to watch sport. She does not usually go to her her her, her
Where does
garden
she
to watch
often go to
sport.
meet new friends?
She often go to her garden cafe to meet her friends. She doesn't go to her her
Where does he usually go to practice music?
She usually go to her home to practice music. She does not usually go to her her home to practice music.
Where does she often go to eat dessert?
She usually go home to eat desserts. She does not usually go to I don't know.
Where does he usually go when he wants to relax?
She usually go to her home when he want to relax. She doesn't not go to her I don't know. Her her garden to a spot.
Where does she often go to take photos with friends?
She usually go to cafe to take photo with friends. She doesn't not usually does not usually go to jungle to take photo with friends.
Where does he usually go on rainy days?
She usually go to her garden on rain. Không go to her home on rainy days. He does not usually go to her garden to her.
Where does she often go to read magazines?
She usually go to her home to read magazines. He does not usually go to her garden to read magazines.
Where does he usually go to buy fruits?
She usually go to her garden to không go to the market to buy food. She doesn't go to her garden to buy fruits.
Where does she often go to watch movies with friends?
She often go to her home to watch movie with friends. She does not go to her garden to watch movie with friends.
Where does he usually go for jogging in the evening?
She usually go to the park for shopping in the evening. He does not go to her garden, her hit garden for shopping in the afternoon. I hope it's the evening.
Where does she often go to buy school supplies?
They often go to market to buy school supplies. She does not then not usually play football after school. Run for school supply to buy school supply.
Where does he usually go to spend time alone?
She usually go to her garden to spend time alone. She does not usually go to her. I don't know.
Where does she often go on public holidays?
She usually go to her garden on public holiday. She do not usually play football on public holiday.
Where does he usually go with his family on weekends?
She usually go to her garden with his family on weekends. She does not usually go to her garden with his family on weekends.
Where does she often go to eat fast food?
She often go to her garden to eat fast food. She does not go to her her
Where does he usually go when he feels tired?
garden. I live home. I hope he go home, go to pharmacy when he future. She does not go to the her garden to when he future.
Where does she often go to buy souvenirs?
She usually go to her garden to buy souvenirs. She does not go to her garden to buy souvenirs.
Where does he usually go on his birthday?
She usually goes to her garden on her birthday. He does not go to her garden on her birthday.
Where does she often go to spend her evenings with friends?
She usually goes to her garden to spend the evening with friends. She does not usually go to her garden to spend time with friends.
Where does he usually go to watch plays or concerts?
She usually goes to her garden to watch play or concerts.
Where does she often go to buy fresh vegetables?
She usually goes to her garden to buy fresh vegetables. She does not usually go to her garden to buy fresh vegetables.
Where does he usually go to relax after a long day?
I don't know.
Where does she often go to meet classmates after school?
She usually goes to her garden to meet her classmates after school. He does not go to her friend to meet his family.
Where does he usually go to enjoy nature?
She usually go to her jungle to enjoy nature.
Where does she often go to have breakfast with friends?
She usually go to her garden to have breakfast with friends.
Where does he usually go to buy shoes?
She usually go to her home to buy shoes. She does not usually go to her garden to buy shoes. It's a market to buy shoes.
Where does she often go to spend free time on weekends?
I don't know. He go to her garden or to spend time on weekend. She does not go to her.
Where does he usually go to learn a new hobby?
Seriously, go to her home to learn new hobbies. She does not go to stadium to learn new hobby.
Where does she often go to enjoy music?
She often go to her garden to her. He often goes to the jungle to enjoy music. She does not easily go to her.
Where does he usually go on
Her.
Monday mornings?
She usually go to her garden on Monday morning. She does not go to her home on Monday morning. Sơn đi chồng
Where
coi.
does she often go to drink tea in the afternoon?
I don't know. Chị hỏi
Where
con
does
này.
he usually go to watch football matches?
She usually go to stadium to watch football matches. She do not usually go home to watch football matches.